Here. Hey guys, today we're going to talk about motherboard form factors because some people ask which is better, ATX, micro ATX. What are the differences? Well, like I said at the beginning of the video, they are only form factors, so they're size standards for motherboards. So it's most important for compatibility reasons. You want to make sure your case does support the motherboard form factor you want. Also, I need to point out that this has nothing to do with the power supply because uh, sometimes people think I have an ATX power supply, but a micro ATX motherboard, so they're not compatible, and that's completely false. Um, like ATX power supplies support most of the motherboards on the market, regardless of the size. But now let's jump right into the differences between them. So we're gonna start with micro ATX because this is a very common form factor. So this is often found on low-end or entry-level motherboards. But don't get me wrong. For most people, this form factor is pretty adequate because it gives you pretty much all the stuff like 95% of people need. So there aren't many complaints about this. Also, uh, do bear in mind that micro ATX motherboards are very common and they're compatible with most cases. So this is inadequate size because you get enough space for 4 RAM slots. In some motherboards you can even SLI. Now the cards will be closer from each other than usual. But since many people don't SLI anyways, I think that won't be a real issue. You can fit a decent VRM. That's really nice. Now, if you're looking for a higher end motherboard, then you should look at the ATX form factor. This is another very common motherboard size, and it will also fit in most cases available. But again, since you get now more space to put stuff, you can find motherboards that are much more complete. There are high-end micro ATX boards, but not as many as ATX. So in ATX you can even fit like 8 RAM slots. You have a space for 4 graphics cards. You can fit a decent VRM and enough buttons and troubleshooting stuff. So again, for high-end builds, this is really nice. Another one that is not the most common, but anyway, the mini ITX form factor. Okay, so as you can guess, this motherboard is mainly for small builds. Usually HTPC because they don't get as hot, but nowadays you can also build a really nice gaming machine with this kind of board. And yeah, it's more limited because I think all the boards I've seen with this form factor only have 2 RAM slots. Uh, Forget about SLI or Crossfire or lots of expansion slots because you only get a single PCIe X16. Also, you can fit really good BRM. But again, if you want a small computer, like this is a really nice option. And given how this form factor has evolved, nowadays we have really decent mini ITX motherboards with like dual M.2s, or I've seen an LG 2066 mini ITX motherboard, and I mean you can put an 18 core on that. So really nice, but it won't be compatible with so many cases. Fortunately, since it's small, like there are some cases that fit this and also fit this one. Now let's go to EATX. So this is mostly for enthusiasts and overclockers. You can see it's about the same length as ATX, but it is a bit wider. In this case, most high-end boards, like top-of-the-line boards, of course, we're not talking about any server thing, but like enthusiast overclocking boards are often EATX. So you'll find most of the good stuff, if not all the good stuff, you find on EATX, like lots of RAM slots, enough spacing for four-way SLI, four-way crossfire, and on this side, what you usually find is like troubleshooting LEDs, overclocking buttons, uh, reset buttons, etc. The problem is that uh, it's not as widely used as EATX or microATX. So uh, make sure your case does in fact support these kind of boards. Now XL ATX is a little bit more of the same. Okay, enthusiast board for multiple graphics cards, lots of RAM DIMMs installed, overclocking, etc. But XL ATX is not very common these days, and just like EATX motherboards, uh, only high-end cases support it, and this one is like larger. So sometimes you lose room to install like water cooling and stuff. Now let's go to the last two. So these are mostly server motherboards. I mean, you look at them and you know they're server motherboards because uh, they're made to support like multiple CPUs, like much much more RAM slots than many other boards, like 8 PCIe slots, etc. But since these are server, like I guess many people won't care, but that's about it. Uh, Again, don't only focus on the size of the motherboard because bigger doesn't mean better features, and it doesn't mean best suited for you either. But of course, there are some limitations and compatibility concerns you need to know. But that's pretty much it. I hope it was useful, and see you guys in the next video.